It's Finish It Friday. I'm stitching it my way. Just wanna be sitting with needles and knitting. Hello, all my yarn lovers and fiber artists. Yes, that's right. We made it to another Finish It Friday. So say hello in the comment section. Let me know where you're watching from and what your latest FO finished object, if you're new to the crafting community, or even project is, right? Did you just finish crocheting a blanket? Let us know. We want to celebrate it. And hey, maybe we want to make what you're making, right? So if you are a returning viewer, well, you know what Finish It Friday is for us crafters, right? It's just show and tell in the crafting community. It's where I show you my projects, and because I am visually impaired and really want to promote accessibility and inclusivity on the internet, I use my words to include other visually impaired people as well. So if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out, and spend a little bit of your Friday with me. Or hey, maybe a Saturday or Sunday or whenever you're watching it. You know what? You watch it on your schedule, right? So, and thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, and completely colorblind. I'm also knit and crochet by feel. And if you are a returning viewer, yeah, you saw these babies in the making. Look at the size, y'all. On Saturday, I invited you all over to a pumpkin making party, so that I did show up. I wasn't gonna not show up on Mondays with May and with Wednesday with anything but pumpkins. But look at the size! Look at the size! OMG, y'all, I love these. I absolutely love these. These are so fun. These are made with the Mighty Stitch, super bulky, right? It's a brand new yarn from Knit Picks and We Crochet. It is a number 6. Look at that. And this is the color Satsuma. It's 80% acrylic, 20% super wash wool. Now, as I said, the recommended crochet hook for this would be a 9 milli. Knitting needle at 10 milli, but because we're making pumpkins, we want some nice dense fabric, so we do hook down. We drop our needle size down. For the crochet ones, I went down to a 7 milli. For the knit ones, I went to an 8 milli. And these two pumpkins that I worked on, if you missed it, these are the spice and clove free knit, free crochet patterns from Knit Picks. Once again, I'm going to do my very best to link that up for you in the description box, so you too can check out a free pattern to make your own pumpkins this fall, right? So fun. I can't stop making these, y'all. I can't. I'm going to do my best to, take a break from pumpkin making and, get back to some of these other neglected projects, started more projects. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Who knows how Finish It Friday is going to go, because I just keep starting stuff. Oh, wow. But as I said, with those patterns, they're written for that, Wool of the Andes sport yarn. And the fun thing about pumpkins is you can make them any size you want. Now, of course, the big challenge, as I said, is wrapping, right? We make these by just making a great big ball, like an amigurumi, and shaping, right? You have to know the basics with crochet, with how to do your increases, how to do 2 crochets in 1 stitch, and then when you get to your decreases, then of course you have to know how to single crochet 2 together. And the same thing with the knit, you have to do how to do an increase, a knit one through the front and the back, and then you do have to know how to knit 2 together. So the one thing I was talking about with my crochet one, I was really worried that I wasn't going to have enough yarn to make the crochet one as big as the pattern calls for it. The pattern calls for us to make them 60 stitches around and then work it even for several rows and then start your decreases. And I was really sure I was going to run out of yarn, so I did only make this crochet with 54 stitches around. Okay, so this is not exactly what you're going to look like. Yours is going to look like if you have enough yarn. But now, of course, guess what? I still have an entire skein left over, plus just a tiny bit more. So I am regretting. I am regretting not making this crochet one as big as the pattern said to, because I definitely would have had enough yarn to do it. So at least I feel confident I would have had enough yarn to do it. So I'm kind of sad about that. So guess what? I might have to make another one with 60 stitches around. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to do that, right? Because I want to see how big that crochet pump. Look at this, is the knit one with 60 stitches on the 8 millimeter. Look at the size of this. I absolutely love this thing. Oh my gosh, I love a big pumpkin. So big plump pumpkin, right? It's so squishable and squishable. So I love it. Yeah. So, but the fun thing about this pattern is that you can like change up the pattern, right? You can absolutely do it with 54 instead of 60 stitches. If you're like me, maybe you really don't have enough yarn, you have that flexibility. So, but you could also make it 66, 72. You know I'm thinking about that, right? You know I am. Yeah, so that's kind of cool, because that way you can make an entire pumpkin patch like somebody has done. Somebody's making themselves an entire pumpkin patch in their house. Yeah. So you can make yourself a pumpkin patch in a variety of sizes. Now, of course, the one limiting factor, like I talk about, is that you do have to wrap the yarn to get the ridges, right? You wrap your yarn, so you take it from where you end and then you push it through, all the way through. You pull it up, you wrap it, you go back down to the other side, you pull it through, you wrap it, and you make your ridges. So that can be challenging when the pumpkins get big. Okay, it can't. I am not gonna lie to you and say that's easy. For me, it really wasn't that hard. I got little tiny. I got long, slender fingers, right? So I can poke them in there when we're down to 6 stitches, and so that might be challenging if you have bigger hands. I don't know. And also, as somebody who's visually impaired, I work by feel, so it's very normal for me to reach in there the other side and feel for where that needle is and pull it through, right? I mean, I can stick a little finger into each end of it and guide that through and then pull it through. So that it could be challenging, and that could limit the size of our pumpkins. I mean, that's the truth. I don't know how big we can actually make these and still do that, but you just know that, like, I mean, it's gonna be November at some point, and where I live in Washington State, it's gonna get dark early. I mean, I'll be watching hockey, but I do knit and crochet during hockey. So, you know what? I might be making lots more pumpkins. I could be making pumpkins all winter. I don't even know where I'm going to store my pumpkins in July now, y'all, because, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with pumpkins in July, because I'm going to have pumpkins everywhere. So I definitely want to keep playing with this pattern. I think it's really fun the way you can make it at 54 stitches, the way you can make it at 60, the way you can play with different yarns, the way you can play with the sizing is super, super fun for me. So these are the knit and crochet ones that I made with y'all. And let's talk about the stems. Yeah. So, okay, in the pattern, they say to have just a little bit of chestnut brown for your stem. And I actually had thought that pumpkin stems were brown. I talked to my mom on the phone. She's like, pumpkin stems are green. So, she told me I should make my stems in green. So I did use the Dublin Bulky for these two. I used the Dublin as the green in the Brava Bulky and made my stems. And I put lights in them, y'all. I lit those babies up. I think that is so fun. So what I did for those is I think I used a 6 milli crochet hook on the Brava Bulky. And I did 6 stitches around for several rows till I got it as tall as I just plugged it in there. Just, OMG, we almost lost our pumpkin. just till I wanted it as tall as I wanted it. And then I did do some decreases at the top so that it would hold the lights in there, right? I think that is so cool. Now, these lights are these little tiny LEDs. You get a big box of them on the Amazon, right? These are so fun. And these are just like these little lights. They're like got little stems in them, that's all. And then you just like pull the pin, right? Pull the pin, or don't pull the pin, you know. But these are so fun to decorate Christmas, Easter, summer parties, Halloween parties. However, these can absolutely be a choking hazard for littles, right? If you got littles around, I would definitely either just skip the lights or find another way to put lights on, because these for sure would be attractive to, you know, a 1-year-old, a 15-month-old who's just, you know, just finding their independence and their mobility. For sure they'd want to pluck out these lights and like pop them in their mouth, because that's what babies do, right? I mean, so for sure, if you think you're going to have littles around, do not decorate with these. Do not have them in your home. They are a choking hazard. You know, most children by 3, 4 know not to put stuff in their mouth, but you know what? Kids are individuals, right? Some don't get it, you know, till much later. Some adults still don't know what they should be putting in their mouths or not. Come on. So, I mean, you know, when in doubt, do not use these if you're not sure who's going to be in your home, right? But these are absolutely fun. I don't have children, so I don't have grandchildren, so I think these lights are super, super fun. I think they just, you know, like when I was in, like I said, I didn't celebrate Halloween as a child. So, you know, I really celebrated in graduate school. Like, ooh, going to all the parties, going to like 3 parties a year for Halloween. Let me tell you, light up plushy pumpkins would have been a big hit at our college Halloween parties. Okay. I'm just telling you, we were into stuff like that. So, this is the Knit Picks Clove Crochet with 54 stitches around. I'll be remaking that with 60. I have to. I'll probably be remaking one with 66 just to see what happens. See how big I can get it. See how big of a pumpkin I can make before I can no longer get that needle through. At some point, I'm going to come back here with a pumpkin that's like massive and be like, you guys, I couldn't get the needle through. And now I just have a big orange, right? Which is fine because I love satsumas. I absolutely love satsumas. They're my favorite over all the oranges. So, but the other thing just to be careful with to do these, I do use my favorite needle, and I absolutely have fears about losing my favorite needle in the stuffing. This is just your standard polyfill. If you're making big pumpkins, you're gonna need a lot of polyfill, okay? So just keep that in mind as well. I'm gonna need a lot of polyfill if I keep making massive pumpkins around here. So, but the other thing is I did make, let me see. Okay, so I also crocheted the same pumpkin with 60 stitches around. This is the Brava worsted. So look at the difference, even with the 54 versus 60 stitches. Look at how much smaller the Brava worsted is. And this Brava worsted one is 60 stitches. And I used a 4.25 millimeter hook on that. And then I used my big Brava 500 in the hunter green for the stem on that. And let's see. What else do I got here? I got a bunch of pumpkins here. Okay. And then I also made one in the Brava Baby DK and the orange, right? That was what I bought it for. Look at the difference even in that, right? And this is the pumpkin that I made on the 3.75 millimeters. So look at the size difference. Now, I did do something really fun with the Brava Baby one. You can see like pumpkins in nature, they're not perfect, right? They're like people, right? They're not perfect. They're not always symmetrical. They can be a little bumpy, a little lumpy. So for this particular pumpkin, I thought it'd be fun to give one of the segments an extra stitch, right? So each of your segments around has, these are worked in segments of 6. So 6 segments of 10, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So they worked in the 6 segments of 10. So I have 11 stitches in this one segment, right? So I kept the one extra stitch in this little section all the way around. So it makes it, I think it gives it kind of a natural pumpkin-y. Like I've seen plenty of pumpkins in it naturally, right? Where they're not even, where like one's like lopsided and one's like extra lumpy, got some rolls going on, right? So we have one little lumpy pumpkin with a little roll up because pumpkins aren't perfect and neither am I. So I thought it would be really fun to have a pumpkin with, like one kind of extra plump little segment in there. So this is definitely the difference in your 4 worsted and Brava on a 4.25, on a Brava Baby DK and 3.75, and the Mighty Stitch on a 7 milli with 54 stitches. So you get a lot of variety with this pattern. Love it. Love it, love it. And then I also thought it would be fun to knit one. And look at the size difference. This is where I think it's going to be really fun to do a whole other video and have a whole other conversation on gauge and swapping out yarns and why gauge is... I don't do gauge swatches. I shouldn't say don't ever. I rarely do gauge swatches. But understanding yarn weights and understanding substituting yarns is super important. And if you're brand new to knitting and crochet, you might not understand yarn weights at all. When I first started knitting, nobody really explained yarn weight to me for a while. And then I started asking my sister some questions on the phone. And she's like, yeah, there's like different weights and you have to look and see, if it's like a 1 to a 6 or a 0 to, I was like, what? And you have to match that? And I was like buying yarns for projects that were just, not gonna work with that project. And so these are both, this is the exact same pattern in the Mighty Stitch Super Bulky, 60 stitches on an 8 milli. This little knit one, exact same pattern, 60 stitches all the way around knit on the Brava Baby DK on a 3.5 millimeter needle. And so this really helps us to understand why a 3, right, a DK weight, a number 3, and a super bulky number 6 are not interchangeable across the board. For pumpkins, yes, absolutely, it's super fun, right? For pumpkins, that's great. For plushies, it can help you get an idea of plushies. You can make tiny little plushies and you can make huge plushies. But for garments and clothing, you probably don't want to swap these two out without doing some serious math. I'm not saying you can't, but you would really need to do a lot of math, right, to swap those yarns out. And so I thought, I'm definitely going to make on this pattern a different yarn so we can take a look at that and have a much deeper in-depth conversation about yarns and why we really need to understand yarn weights, because this alone should tell you the exact same pattern on a DK weight versus a super bulky. You're going to get both 60 stitches, you're going to get a huge difference in the size. So pumpkins, yes. Cardies, probably not. So unless of course you're looking at like a baby cardie and you're like, I want to make it fit me, right? Then I probably could. I mean, that's also something to keep in mind. If you see something in a child size that you want to make for yourself, you could definitely consider jumping up that yarn weight, and you just might be able to create an adult size garment. You'll just have to determine if it's an appropriate garment to make in a super bulky or not, right? So, cardies, probably, yeah. Hoodies, probably, yeah. Some things might not look as good, right? But that's just a fun beginner of a conversation and why I was having so much fun playing with this pattern and why I am not done making pumpkins. I'll probably be making pumpkins for a long time. And this little guy, I just put a little piece of a green pipe cleaner, just a nice little fuzzy soft green pipe cleaner in there. Again, cute, easier than crocheting my stems, but again, it's sharp on the end, right? Pipe cleaners are sharp on the end, so again, not appropriate if you have littles around, right? They would probably want to pull that out and poke themselves in the eye with it or something. So but you can absolutely use little green fuzzy pipe cleaners for that. So now these are pumpkins that I made before I had a YouTube channel, but I did want to put them out there. If you're a new knitter and you are not yet comfortable with shaping, right, with increases and decreases, then these 3 pumpkins I made before I had YouTube, they're a real simple pattern. They're a free YouTube tutorial. Her channel, I believe, is called Be Hooked Knitting. And I will also do my very best to link up her video in the description box so you can find it. So these are great for newer, less experienced knitters who don't have as much experience, right? So for these, all you have to do is know how to cast on, bind off, how to knit, and how to purl. And that's it. There's no shaping. You don't do any knit 2 together. You don't do any, well, you do at the end, you do pull it through. You do pull your yarn through. You do a little bit of, you know, that. But you don't have to do your decreases. You don't have to do a knit 2 together, except for your bind off. You have to do how to do a bind off, right? So that's a slip one, you know, a knit 1 past your slip stitch over. So you have to do a little bit of binding off. But if you know how to bind off, but you're not comfortable with shaping like a knit 2 together or a slip knit, and you're not comfortable yet with increasing with a knit 1 through the front and the back loop or something, then these are great. These are literally just knit flat, or not, they're not knit in the round, but they're just a tube. You just make a tube and do no shaping. So you cast on 66 stitches, and then you knit 10 and you purl 1, right? And that's it. And you do that all the way around. You make a tube, you keep it the same size, you bind off, and then you leave a really long tail, and then you just thread that through your stitches. My first one, I really kind of messed up. The bottom's kind of bunchy, but you know what? It's a pumpkin. And the good things about these pumpkins is you can take a look at them and decide which side's going to be the butt, right? Which side they're going to sit on. So you can get to choose that. So I just did that to remedy that little problem, and I got better at that. So these 2 larger ones, I worked up in the Knit Picks Brava Bulky in orange again. Brava Bulky is a 100% acrylic machine washable yarn. And then I did this little one in the Brava worsted, right? These 3 are Peter, Paul, and Mary. That's what I named them. Just, I guess, Peter, Paul, and Mary. And so I was probably listening to some music, and my mom was asking questions about them on the phone, and that's probably, I think, what I just came up with, you know. So, but now the pumpkin family is expanding so fast, we don't even have time to name them anymore, right? They're just pumpkins. So, this is a great free YouTube tutorial. And then these 3, I just put cinnamon sticks in for the stems. I love having the cinnamon sticks in for the stems just because they smell good, right? So they make your house smell very autumny. They make your house smell like the pumpkin spice. You got your cinnamon going on. So I think that is fun. So, but again, I don't know that I'd put cinnamon sticks out in decor if you got, 2-year-olds in the house. Again, they could probably pull those out. I did not glue them in. You can hot glue them in. They might stay better, but if you got toddlers, you know about decor, right? Toddlers pick up everything. Everything goes in the mouth, all that kind of stuff, So these stems and these little additions, the lights, the pipe cleaners, all that might not be appropriate, because kids are going to love these pumpkins, and kids could absolutely pick them up, right? If you just did your crochet stems, they'd be fine for kiddos to pick up and toss around and hold and squish, right? And do what kiddos do, right? And so they'd be very safe decor. If you did crochet stems that you sewed in so they couldn't pull them out, these would be very, very safe, very kid-friendly decor in the fall that they could toss around. They can, play with, toss at each other, right? Just have fun with. Very squishable. Because it can be hard to decorate for holidays when you got littles around. It can, because they want to pick up everything, right? I mean, come on. Were you ever the kid that you're at somebody else's house, mom's like, don't touch it, don't touch anything. Just put your hand, don't touch anything, don't pick that up, right? I mean, nope, no, right? So, I mean, if you've had them, right? So definitely if you got littles in the house, these would be a fun way to decorate as long as you did the crochet stems and sewed them in really good. And of course you can crochet leaves and stuff. I did for these bigger ones. I did with my cinnamon sticks. I gave them bow ties, right? So these are just seed stitch bow ties, nothing fancy. You just do seed stitch, a seed stitch strip, and then you the same amount of stitches, and then you wrap it with, you know, like a little garter stitch band. You wrap it in the middle to cinch it up, and then tie it on there. They're so cute. Look at Peter Pumpkin. It's got a black tie. And Baby Paul Pumpkin has a little blue tie on him. These are just seed stitch bows. And then Mary, I made up her little bow, but I just totally made it on the fly and the weight. I don't even know that I could replicate this, but I was happy that I could make it match on both sides. Okay, I was like so pleased with myself that both sides of her bow matches. It's knit. You just got some shaping and some, you know, some yarn overs and stuff. But I don't even know. I wish I wrote it down. But of course, if you're returning viewer, you know, I'm not very good at writing stuff down that I design on the fly. So I don't ever know if we can replicate her bow or not, but definitely feel free to decorate your pumpkins. If you want to put faces on them, put faces, and put eyeballs on them, like make them into jack-o'-lanterns and give them like smiles and noses and eyes and mustaches or whatever, right? Whatever, however you want to decorate your pumpkins, let me know in the comment section. Did you make pumpkins with me this week? I want to know. Did you knit pumpkins? Did you crochet pumpkins? And what patterns are you using? Okay, because I'm going to link these up for you if I remember and if I do it right. The Spice and Clove free pattern from Knit Picks and the V-Hook Crochet YouTube tutorial so that you can make these. But I want to know what patterns you're using because you just know I want to make more pumpkins. But I'm not done. I'm definitely going to try them in more yarns, more sizes. Yeah, I'm just going to keep making pumpkins and keep having fun with them. So anyways, let me know what you're up to this weekend, what your plans are. Are you going someplace? Are you decorating the house? What are you doing for your weekend? Alrighty, my friends. Well, I absolutely love these. I hope I got you excited about some fun fall decor. Let me know if you tried making them in the super bulky. Did you have fun? Did you have difficulties getting the needle through? And what like tools are you, techniques, like what are you doing to get that needle pulled all the way through? Because it's definitely doable. You just have to get creative. But you know what? We're creative people, right? If we're crafters, we're creative people, and we love thinking and figuring. Like, to me, that's the fun part about knitting and crocheting and designing my own patterns. It's like the problem solving, right? You're like, how am I going to do that? And it really engages the problem solving in your mind. When you design your own stuff, you're like, how do I do that? And you get a problem solve it. You got to think it through, and then you get this great sense of accomplishment, right? So there's so much fun in figuring that stuff out. For me, it's very mentally rewarding. I love it. I'm having fun with it. I'm going to make them these with more sizes, more yarns. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out where in the heck I'm going to store all these pumpkins. So alrighty, my friends, well, thank you so much for listening, right? And you know what we have to say, creativity is for everybody, whether you see or you see like me, which is not in color, or you don't see at all. Creativity is for you. And whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or weaving or carving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now.